What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's time to recap the second half of the Teen Mom OG season finale. Before we jump in, I really want to thank you so much for all the love and support you've given me on the part 1 video. It's been so great chatting with you all in the comments, and I look forward to doing it again for this part 2. The second half of the episode starts off with Farrah, Simon, and Sophia meeting up with Deborah and David for some ice cream / frozen yogurt, still taking place in their during their Florida vacation. So Deborah and Dr. David are like really sulking and like acting like kind of teenagers at the bar, and Farrah actually surprisingly tries to keep things upbeat as she walks by them to head outside to enjoy the sun and eat with Simon and Sophia. But David and Deborah don't follow her, so a producer asks whether or not they're planning to go enjoy their little treats outside with Farrah, and Deborah tells her that she's not going to go outside. She actually wants David to go outside because she feels like what's going on between the two of them is too much, and she doesn't want to be in the middle of it any longer. But as usual, the way she speaks is like a kid throwing a temper tantrum. She's like sulking so bad, and so David's like, okay, fine, like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go tell Farrah that I'm planning to cook dinner for all of us, kind of to bury the hatchet. So he does go out there and tell Farrah, and she seems pretty excited about it. Meanwhile, Amber and Matt are still in LA when the two of them are in their hotel room, kind of laying down what's going to happen if Matt fails his lie detector test. And so, as usual, Matt decides to gaslight Amber and minimize her feelings by telling her that she's like mentally ill, having a little bit of a break, a mental break at the moment. And he's like, I'm the victim in all this. And y'all, Amber must have been really stressed about the whole thing because she never bothered to change out of her onesie set. So the two of them head on over to the lie detector place. She speaks to the guy first privately about the whole thing, a little bit TMI, but I digress. And when they come back together, MTV has to bring security because we all know Amber has a record of being a violent, felon, right? And so the guy's like, security? What for? The poor old man. And Thug Life Amber was like, oh, we need security. So Matt actually passes the first 2 questions, and they were about whether or not he slept with anyone else or had sexual communication. However, he did wind up failing the 3rd question, which seemed to be the most important question of all, which was whether or not he made any sexual advances towards Bleep. And in my opinion, the bleeped out name was Tiffany. Remember a couple of videos back, we talked about how this girl came out to NT Lawyer and Kiki the producer about being Matt's mistress over in Vegas. She leaked voicemails, text messages, DICK pics, the whole 9 yards. So I'm pretty sure that's what the lie detector test guy was referring to. And so upon hearing this, Amber immediately jumps out of her seat towards him. She's like, you mother effer, you did what to that ugly ass bitch? She literally looks ready to beat him to a bloody pulp, much like she did Gary, unfortunately. And one of the cameramen looked scared for his own damn life at that moment. I actually laughed so hard at the cameraman's face, y'all. And so while all of this is happening, Matt is being really patronizing with his little like shit-eating grin, and he's like playing dumb. He's like, what's a sexual advance? That could have been anything, like, what is that? And I'm sitting here like, dude, you've got like 49 kids. I'm pretty sure you know what a sexual advance is. Producers had enough of Amber's like lunging towards Matt and stuff like that, and it was too risky at that point. So they grab her and bring her to an elevator where she's like punching the wall. She's swearing, talking shit about Matt. She's like, I swear to God, I'm gonna upgrade. Watch who I get next and all that stuff. Meanwhile, Matt is still like has that like evil smirk on his face as he comes out of the building while Amber is coming down the sidewalk from another angle, and they run into each other, and Amber's like, F you, you're trash, as a garbage truck rolls on behind her. I have to give a shout out to Alexandra Golightly for putting me onto that via Snapchat. I thought that was hilarious. She's like, you old ugly ass MFer, all this stuff. And it's like, was he not old when you were up under them balls, girl? And then she takes his hood rat shit to another level. She's like, I got you deals, MFer. I made you. Watch what I do next. Watch what I'll do next. I'll beat your ass. Oh my God. You guys, it was literally like Amber was auditioning for an episode of Bad Girls Club with all this hood rat, like ratchet gossip, not gossip, slang stuff. I was like, honestly, I had to take a moment to wonder when Amber became seems so like, you know, ratchet. When she was first released from prison, she was like the most docile person in the world. The whole thing was crazy. And again, I do have to note the double standards when it comes to MTV here. Amber, first of all, lunged to beat Matt, and we know she has a history of beating men, right? Then she threatened to beat him, and there was no disclaimer or anything about like intimate partner violence, like at all. You know what I mean? I feel like if any man in the world went to one of the moms and did this kind of bullshit, there would be disclaimers every 5 seconds about how it's wrong, you know, the resources you need to protect yourself and stuff like that. So I was heavily disappointed that MTV did not take a second to acknowledge that what Amber was doing, regardless of Matt's dirty dog deeds, was abusive. You know what I mean? Like, you should not be threatening physical violence on your partner. You should not be lunging towards them. And as Amber was being dragged down the sidewalks in a way by producers and stuff like that, Matt was like, honey, it was just too vague. What's a sexual advance, honey? Too vague. It was like, oh my God, shoot me now. This guy is so sleazy. Now we are transported down south back to Tennessee, where Macy is yet again on the phone with her counselor about Ryan. She's like, Ryan's screening my calls. I don't know what to do. And the guy's like, you need to set your boundaries, right? Like, and I feel like he was being really nice. He's like, don't you have like a husband and kids? Like, you know, set your boundaries in regards to this situation. You know, if you want to do the whole taking Bentley away from him because he's an addict and stuff like that, do that. Like, but you know, doesn't this guy have a wife, parents, and stuff like that? So she did say that she was going to take his advice and that she was happy to have someone to speak to about the whole thing. I have to ask though, you guys, do you think that Macy is one of those people who doesn't eat under stress? She looked uncomfortably tiny in this scene, and I really hope that's not the case, because this whole thing looks to be actually stressing the hell out of her, understandably so. Like, all the stress has made her tinier than she usually is, and it has aged her like 20 years. I really hope this whole thing can be resolved for her own sake. Also, what was up with the scene where Caitlyn and Tyler put Nova down for bed in a crib that has a giant box dangling above it that could easily fall on her, or she could easily like get up and try to grab for and have it fall on her? You know what I mean? I felt like that was really weird. Were those too high? Because when they were doing the whole duck thing, I kind of had a suspicion that they were high off something, but I felt like this was just so like irresponsible. There's no way they had to be in the right frame of mind. You know what I mean? But anyway, after they put Nova down for bed, the two of them sit down and learn that their offer on the Octagon house was accepted, and then they start talking about all the times that they've moved. Tyler tells Caitlyn that she's the strongest woman he's ever known, and they kind of get really nostalgic, and it was a really sweet scene. Back down in Florida again, everyone is eating outside, the little dinner that David cooked. So Simon asks Deborah and David when they're getting married, and from the very beginning of this scene, Farrah was really snappy and ready to fight someone, right? And so she snaps over this whole thing, and it was kind of confusing because it seemed like they were doing pretty decent when David offered to cook everyone dinner. So Simon reveals, probably via producer prodding, he reveals that they were fighting a little bit earlier again. Farrah, in her signature snappy, bitchy way, asks David what he's planning to do to fix their relationship. And so David's like, listen, I don't have a relationship with you, and I don't plan to have one with you because you do not respect your mother. Parents are up here and you should be respecting them. It's in the good book. And so Farrah claims that she loves the good book, but that she cannot respect their engagement or their relationship because it started off really, really hateful. And David reiterates what he says. He leans into Farrah and he's like, listen, like I told you, I'm not having a relationship with you until you learn to respect your mother. And so Farrah's like, you know what? It's my mother who does not respect this family. And then David really goes for the jugular when he tells Farrah, you know what? Deborah is not the one who needs therapy, okay? It's you who needs therapy. And so Farrah literally snaps at this moment. She's like, you know what? Yeah, we all go to therapy because my family effed me up. And sensing that things were gonna get way too heated, Simon tells her, listen, we need to get out of here. Let's go for a walk or something like that. And so as she's getting up and stuff, Farrah's like, you know what? Never ever come on a family trip with me again, and don't ever in your life say I need therapy. And the two of them walk away. And then Deborah starts whining about how how, you know, oh, woe is me, I'm always in the middle of all this stuff. And as she's having her usual pity party, Farrah comes back to tell David, listen, like I told you, never say I need therapy. My whole family has never told me that. And David flexes his little muscle. He's like, well, it's because I'm a doctor. And Farrah's like, well, you suck at being a doctor, bitch. And David, oh my God, gives her the middle finger and says, F you. And Farrah, never one to take a punch, lying down, comes back and she's like, you know what? F you too. I hope you get rammed in the ass, which I would say is a pretty risky thing for someone like Farrah to say, because anyone could easily clap back to that, you know, in regards to her adult tape, right? And so in this moment, Deborah tells David that he doesn't need what's going on. And I was like, Deborah, listen, yeah, Farrah has been pretty hostile to this guy, but he came out of the gate swinging at her this entire time. And she is like, you know, your daughter, your blood, you should be on her side no matter what. And especially in this case, things didn't get especially dirty until Dr. David told her that she needed therapy. And then he's the first one to swear at her as well. He's like, F you. And he gave her the middle finger. Like, if anything, you should be telling David to chillax in the way that he treats your daughter. Meanwhile, in Tennessee, we see a quick clip of Bentley asking Macy whether or not he gets to go to Mimi Jen's house. And Macy tells him no. Remember, in light of the counselor's advice. And then we shoot on over to Macy and Ryan, surprisingly making it to their shotgun wedding alive. But it doesn't look like a happy occasion at all, you know, predictably, right? With Ryan's mom actually even crying about the whole thing. And so his dad is like, well, are you going to tell Bentley? Or what are you going to tell Bentley? And Mackenzie's actually the first one who responds. She's like, no, we're not. And so Ryan's like, yeah, we're not going to do it. And that obviously breaks, like, you know, his parents' hearts for Bentley, because we all know that this is not something Bentley would want to miss. And so Mimi continues crying as Ryan tries to console her, and the dad just looks like, what the hell is going on here? As usual, I have a few questions about this scene. Like, where was Mackenzie's son in all of this? Why is the dog there if they can't even make time for any of the kids, especially Bentley, who all of this is like allegedly for? Is anyone else wondering why she's wearing a full-blown wedding gown, like full-blown makeup and 50 pounds of weave just to get married on a sidewalk? You know, especially considering the fact that she knowingly got into the car with Ryan as he was experiencing like a hardcore, like, you know, reaction to drugs, almost an overdose. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were potentially going to die in that car, Mackenzie. Why'd you get all dressed up for it? Anyway, Mackenzie's desperation is literally palpable in this scene, because she leaves Ryan's parents looking really sad on the sidewalk without reassuring them or anything at all. She's all by herself in the middle of the road, like, you know, what's up with this officiant? Hurry up, like, my retirement plan needs to be sealed quickly. What are you doing here? And she just looked so evil, you guys, in that scene, especially in light of how she handled Ryan driving under the influence. The whole thing was really disgusting. She makes my skin crawl so hard. And so as Ryan is leaving his parents in the parking lot to head on down to his, you know, shotgun bride, he kisses his mom on the mouth twice. And I thought that was nasty as hell. I don't understand, like, this activity at all. As the vows were happening, Ryan seemed to be nodding off, much like he was in the car, which explains why he went back to putting on the sunglasses. And he was like, you know, this the whole time, a little bit swinging, his head nodding again, and the whole thing was just so disturbing. Like I told y'all, I think it is so predatory to marry someone in this state. Like, is this marriage even legal? If any of you guys work in the legal field, let me know, because it seems like he was taken advantage of completely by Mackenzie in this situation. It was really disturbing to watch these vows go down, and I'm really shocked that the officiant even went through with it. Literally throughout the entire vows, Ryan's dad was sitting down on like one of those parch bench stoop things like a high school football coach, while his mom cried in the background and even had her back turned towards them on a couple of occasions. Like, how romantic. And after the whole thing was sealed with a kiss, Ryan and Mackenzie kind of jot down the little, you know, aisle, makeshift aisle together, and he fist pumps as his whole gut hangs out. Like, so sexy. Now back in LA, our final scene revolves around what else? Matt and Amber. She actually manages to squeeze out a single tear when she cries about how much time she's wasted on men and asks whether or not she's the problem. And stupid ass Kiki tells her, no, Amber, you're not the problem at all. I was practically screaming at my television at this point. I was like, are you well, Kiki? Amber literally recently got out of jail for domestic violence, right? She once had a convict around her daughter, changing her diapers and potentially even giving her her a bath, and then she moved Matt into her house immediately upon meeting him, despite again having a super young daughter. Like, the whole thing was disgusting. Obviously there's something wrong with her, and even just like a couple of minutes ago, she was lunging at him, threatening to beat his ass. She was screaming up a storm, acting like a disgusting person. I would be embarrassed if this was my mother, y'all. Like, of course, at a certain level, Amber is the damn problem. And by the time she manages to squeeze out a second tear, we cut on over to Matt outside of the venue, calling her, you know, presumably begging her to call him a damn Uber because this old man is broke as shit, being a deadbeat, right? You guys, that concludes the part 2 recap of season 6B of Teen Mom OG. As usual, I'm so excited to see what you have to say about the whole thing. Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and as usual, we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, and follow me across social media where I absolutely love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.